Get Rich Education is brought to you by Mid-South Homebuyers and thelandgeek.com.
Welcome to Get Rich Education with Keith Weinhold, giving you information and ideas on the investment that has turned more ordinary people into millionaires and billionaires than anything else, and can provide you with more wealth and happiness than you ever thought possible. Now, here's your host, investor, entrepreneur, business owner, and educator, Keith Weinhold.
Welcome to Get Rich Education. This is episode number 33. I'm your host, Keith Weinhold. With listeners now in 122 nations, it's the show with the globe's highest return on time invested for listeners. It's the show where I plan to make you more successful than me, faster than me. Did you ever want to live one of those lives where the rent checks roll into your life whether you work or not? That's what we're doing here. Yet today, I'm going to tell you why you don't want to be a millionaire. Now, when I say that I'm making the show that I wish I had a decade ago, I'm talking about providing you with three things, because previously, I had never seen a wealth building show consistently deliver all three of these things. Number one is education. Number two is actionable content, including bringing great providers onto the show. And third is inspiration, to grow your mind, peeling back more layers of who you are to build your compelling why. I don't see anyone else doing education, actionable, and inspiration, and that's why I'm doing this. Hey, I've mentioned 122 nations. Now, most GRE listeners are in the United States by a mile, but we've had an uptick in international listenership lately, and I really appreciate having you here. So thanks to all of you for tuning in the Philippines, Belgium, Angola, and also to those GRE listeners in the Caribbean island nation of Trinidad and Tobago. I really appreciate that. Those four nations have high listenerships relative to their population. I also appreciate some new listeners that told me that once they discovered Get Rich Education, they had to go back to the beginning and listen to all of the shows, 33 episodes now. We've got a number of GRE listeners that have closed on the purchase of their first ever cash flowing turnkey real estate in their life after they heard episode 9 and bought from Mid-South Homebuyers in Memphis, Tennessee. Those listeners realize this. Change is made by doing something that is not, well, normal, okay? And it's really hard to describe how good that makes me feel. It's great to have listeners, but almost immeasurably pleasing to know that I'm changing lives. Those listeners chose to make money follow them rather than they following money. Wherever they go, that cash flow check now hunts them down and finds them. No matter where they move, money follows them. They're gradually introducing more of that activity to their lives and less of where one dutifully shows up to a workaday job, maybe that they don't even like. If the job moved, they might have to uproot their family and move to it. That person is instead following money, just like most Americans following the herd. That's why I say don't follow money, make money follow you. Lives are on their way to being improved by using passive income to buy time, in turn to obtain the things you ultimately want in life, like peace, joy, happiness, love, and freedom. Listeners are taking action, and I love to know that I've helped them. You know, I might have a passion for real estate investing and a near obsession with changing lives. In helping you out, I don't care to be the big, tall plant that every other plant tries to grow to. I'd kind of rather be more of the greenhouse that helps everyone grow. That's where I want to be. Now, I'm sure you've read these financial articles basically that go like this. If when you're age 25, you start saving X amount of dollars per month in your 401k plan at a 10% appreciation rate, you're guaranteed to be a millionaire at age 65. Well, that article's numbers are probably accurate, but it's a flawed inference that a net worth of $1 million is something to strive for. The question that people need to ask is, what will $1 million be worth in 40 years? Maybe 200K in today's dollars? I mean, that might only represent a year or two of living okay. But really the more central question today is, what's $1 million worth right now? Really, my question today is, why would you want to be a millionaire? Wouldn't you rather be wealthy? I mean, millionaire still sort of has this connotation in popular culture, even today, some association with being wealthy. You got the popular book, The Millionaire Next Door, the popular game show that started out with Regis Philbin, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? First of all, what's a million? It's 1,000 times 1,000. That's it. Just 1,000 times 1,000. Being a millionaire doesn't mean making $1 million a year. It only means that the value of all of your assets minus all of your debts exceeds $1 million. Now, if one has $2.5 million in total asset value and $1.5 million in total debt and zero income in their life, they're a millionaire. That's not wealthy. When a dollar was worth more a few generations ago, being a millionaire meant that a person was wealthy. In fact, at one time, being a millionaire, that sort of presumed that millionaires' lives included more play than work. Like their everyday choices were, which yacht brand should we choose, the Sunseeker or the Princess, in order to provide carriage to our exclusive private island? Okay, a millionaire's life could have looked that way generations ago. Today a millionaire might be someone in their 40s, financially 1/4 of the way to what they think is a retirement goal and working 60 hours a week with the stress of managing employees and motivating them to try to work more billable hours. I mean, that's not wealth. Yet they might have a net worth of $1 million and be a millionaire. Yet you still see some popular financial and wealth-building book titles with the word millionaire in them. Millionaire, that should be more of an iconic word of yesteryear that people correlated with wealth. Really, at the beginning of this show, my voiceover artist introduces GRE as discussing the investment that has created more millionaires and billionaires than anything else. Maybe I'll have him change that from millionaires to multimillionaires someday, but, millionaires is still used. That can still be accurate because he's talking about past performance, and millionaire used to mean one of significant financial substance for most of America's history. I crossed a net worth of $1 million a while ago, and it didn't have any profound impact on my life or even a minor one. That's because it's not a wealth marker at all. There are now almost 10 million millionaires in America alone. And over the long term, inflation continues to erode the purchasing power of your dollar. A millionaire whom is already down close to middle class in many places in the U.S., a millionaire is just going to continue to trend toward poorer. You've seen this happen in your life. When you hear about your grandparents discuss paying 30 cents for a gallon of gas rather than $3 today. In 1978, the median cost of a single-family home in the United States, you know what it was? It was $56,000. $56,000 in 1978. And today it's $221,000. Let's look at the last 100 years. What do you think the total inflation has been over the last 100 years? How much do you think prices have increased? Well, since 1915, nominal prices as measured in dollars have increased, get this, 2,275%. Yeah, almost 23 times, 23-fold. That means that an item, say Philadelphia Phillies hat or a gallon of paint, that item that cost $1 in 1915, that would cost about $23 today. Yeah, that cost $1 in 1915. Now, there could be some mild, shorter-term deflation upcoming here, but inflation is expected to continue long-term. And here's why. Okay, just follow with the analogy here. All right, if you owed someone $1 million and you couldn't pay them. You didn't have the ability to pay them back. But you also owned a dollar printing press. You might just keep printing until you had enough dollars to pay them back. You gave them the $1 million that you promised. You just never said in your agreement what $1 million would be worth. Well, in the same way, it's most politically expedient for America to inflate our way out of the national debt, the liability. We won't default on our debt. We'll pay it back, but we'll pay it back with watered down dollars. That's kind of what we've been doing all along. And inflation really accelerated when President Nixon closed the gold window on August 15th, 1971. Now, you don't need to have an ounce of gold for a certain amount of dollars. Well, this ultimately impoverishes most everyday people. These are the same people that thought they were doing the right thing because that's just what someone told them. Those people have saved money. Those people have lived a fruitful, productive life. They put away for a rainy day. They've paid off all their debts. Well, you know what? That's the same reason why those same people are struggling. And to some, it sounds like they did everything right. But long-term savers don't build wealth. Long-term cash flow investors do. Savers, if you're a saver for too long, you're pretty soon part of the economically despondent. Remember, you don't want to be debt-free. You want to be financially free. Inflation destroys lenders and makes borrowers become wealthy. Well, you might think that's the wrong message or the wrong behavior, but, whether one likes it or not, you're better off being a massive holder of smart debt. I sure am. Aiming to be more than a mere millionaire, that's really part of just going and figuring out this money thing so that you can have the time to live the life that you want to live. The life that I want you to live. But most people take time for granted because in this life, time has always been there. That's why people take it for granted. Wealthy people value their time more, and they seem to be more aware that their time in this life is limited. Wealthy people buy time. Most people sell their time. If you figured that out, but yet you're not yet wealthy, well, that's great because you're on your way if you figured that out. For example, I've never mowed my own lawn. I don't mind lawn mowing too much, but there's just too great of an opportunity cost in me doing it. Plus, then I'd probably be storing and maintaining all the equipment and stuff. I pay someone $45 to mow it in 45 minutes. That's efficient for me because I know that my time is worth more than that. Oh, you are the company you keep, right? You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So look at my best friend, GRE's right-hand man, John Collins. He doesn't clean his own home. He doesn't cook his own meals. He pays $350 a week for healthy, cooked, made-to-eat meals. Well, he's outsourced both of those tasks to others. And John and I don't manage any of our income properties, and none of my other friends do either. Well, someone might think, I'll just wait and do those things when I acquire wealth. Yeah, but those that get ahead instead think, I'll do that first in order to acquire wealth. That's how one buys time. Okay, we buy time from lower use tasks. Most people sell their time. Hourly employees trade their time for dollars, giving away time, the very fabric of their lives, for dollars. So every day they're selling off portions of their lifetime, chapters of their dreams, snippets of their former ambitions. They're selling off slices of life with loved ones, sold. I show you how to find better and higher uses for your time on this show, and I love doing that for you. In fact, I've even got a commercial on today's show that's going to show you a better and higher use of your time. Spend your time each day carefully because you are trading a day of your life for it. You know what's once in a lifetime? Your life. Hey, your life is once in a lifetime, so value it. Find ways to buy time rather than sell it. I've enjoyed helping people learn how to create wealth passively with investment real estate for years. But you know what? Even though I've helped them create wealth, some of them have still chosen not to transform their life. I've seen some get so consumed by real estate investing and how great it is and relatively easy it is and the income that it generates, that they still live a scarcity mindset even with growing expendable passive dollars. Yeah, they don't spend their money to buy time, or they just want to spend all their time thinking about real estate investing, yet they've never tried skiing or vacationed in Europe or swam in Maui's 7 sacred pools or toured Yosemite Park. I mean, having money in itself isn't living well. It only represents the potential to live well. It's almost a little embarrassing to have to remind people that they have to remember to live a good life. I think a lot of people rationalize that they'll save their money and then hope to live a better life someday. Hell, I think that's misdirected. Inevitably one day they look back and realize that they didn't have as much happiness or accomplishment as they could have. They postponed happiness in the hopes that they could buy it later, maybe. Well, they never did. That doesn't work. You cannot buy happiness. You live happiness. Real estate is not the thing. Real estate only fuels the thing. Yeah, that's how it is for me. Ask yourself, in life, is the better question, how do I best invest in real estate? Or how do I design the best lifestyle? Your schedule might always be filled, but is your life fulfilled? What's your return on time invested? If you're considering investing in something worthwhile, boy, invest in your own happiness. Buy that boat or buy that vacation package. You need to live well. But just do it in this way. If you want to buy a boat, first buy a piece of cash flowing real estate. Use the monthly cash flow check from the real estate to service the monthly debt payments on the boat. That way you've added an asset, your cash flowing real estate, to service your financial liability, which is your boat. Yeah, the boat is a financial liability, but a lifestyle asset, along with your cash flowing real estate asset, which often appreciates in value at the same time. That's how wealthy or soon to be wealthy people buy things. So we want to go beyond being a millionaire and even beyond creating wealth and into creating permanent life improvement. Opening up time to create the peace, joy, happiness, love, and freedom. That's what one ultimately wants, but even some successful real estate investors forget that. So you can ask yourself, how much am I really living? When was the last time that I tried something for the very first time? When your life is over with, I want you to say, wow, that was just fantastic. Sometimes people become so cocooned, so insular that they lose their desire to really live, almost without knowing it. People have this slowly eroding system such that they lose a belief in themselves over times. You're writing the story of your life and your legacy 1 minute at a time. Once you're out of time, you're literally out of life. Do you know who can give great perspectives on what one really wants to be in life? In a sense, this same person is my hero, and they have the goals that I want to match or exceed. You know who this person is? My hero? It's a 9-year-old child. They're the ones that haven't been subject to the societal beatdown of being told over and over and over again, both subliminally and overtly, to settle for less. A 9-year-old, they will still tell you that they want to be an astronaut so that they can walk on Mars, that they want to have lots of brothers to love and play with. That they're going to own the biggest home with the largest swimming pool they've ever seen when they grow up. In a sense, my personal hero is a 9-year-old. I probably have more respect for the dreams, goals, and ambitions of a 9-year-old than I do most adults. You might ask a 9-year-old some questions. You could get some inspiration and remember what you wanted to be. Ask your mom what you wanted to be when you were 9, okay? when you find out what you wanted to be, you won't learn that you kept talking about how you wanted to grow up to work all week, plus then work overtime on the weekends too. Your goal wasn't to lead your department in billable hours. Is life to be endured or enjoyed? That's why I say that most people get so caught up trying to make a living that they forget to live a life. Well, that's not a life well lived. I'm a pretty optimistic person, and this can be a sad place to go for a minute, but at the end of your life, how will your autobiography or tombstone read if it actually reveals the truth? Ask yourself that. We know how we don't want it to read, but this is how it would read for many people. This life didn't really work. I didn't really give it a try. I played it safe, but I survived. I worked a lot. I never really lived where I wanted to. I never spent quite enough time to love those I wanted to. I rarely visited where I wanted to. I found that a big part of my life was designed to sit in a cubicle. And then I passed on this same ambition level and limiting belief system to others. And now I'm dead. That's all it would say. Most people get so caught up in the scarcity mentality herd. You're here, so you're probably not going to. That scarcity mentality herd where one constantly settles for less. You've got to have less. Do less. Be less. Most people die at age 25. It's just that they're not buried until age 75. You're listening to Get Rich Education. Are you looking for a way to build monthly cash flow investing in real estate, but without the typical hassles you hear about? While other people flock to compete in the house flipping and rental property markets, now could be the time to learn migraine-free real estate investing. In business for nearly 15 years, Mark Podolsky, aka the Land Geek, has unlocked the secrets to creating significant passive income by investing in raw, undeveloped land. No renters or tenants, no rodents or termites, no renovations or toilet repairs. Imagine achieving your financial goals without suffering through the constant stress that landlords and house flippers do. For more information, go to thelandgeek.com/GRE.
This is Rich Dad Advisor Garrett Sutton. To grow your wealth, listen to the always valuable Get Rich Education.
I interviewed Mark Podolsky on GRE episode 27, so there's another way to learn about Mark. I encourage you to buy time to aspire to a better and higher use so that you can learn about things like that. Recently, Rich Dad Advisor Tom Wheelwright pretty much said that he can't think of a better passive income model than what Mark has at The Land Geek. Mark and I really have some commonalities. We both educate others about passive income generation through the most proven asset class of all time, real estate, where you don't have to be the landlord. I mean, if you're a landlord, the income is not passive. Mark just so happens to do it with raw land, and making raw land produce cash flow is a lucrative, compelling model. Hey, well, we're developing a website for you at GetRichEducation.com. You can go there now, and after you land, a box will pop up a few seconds later where you can leave your name and email address so that I can get back to you when we have some updates or something valuable to share. You can listen to all the podcasts at the site too. The website has intentionally been slow to develop because, unlike most websites that build their site according to what they think you ought to see or know, I'd like to use more of your feedback to help build the site. Instead of building a site around what I think you need exclusively, simply tell me how a website can best help you. I'd rather help build it around you and what you want, and your questions and problems will help us tailor the site to you. you can tell us that at the contact page, which should be working now at getricheducation.com. Let us know at the contact page as well if you would like me to appear as a speaker at your event about how one really builds wealth through real estate without having to do all the grunt work themselves, and to provide your group with some motivation. Yes, I could show up in person and speak at your event. Hey, we've got some great shows coming up on wealth building, financing. I've even got a little bit on landlording. Yes, can you believe it? Landlording. Again, I don't encourage anyone to be a landlord long term, and you can invest well in real estate without ever being one, but perhaps the greatest springboard to wealth for beginners is making your first ever home a fourplex building where you live in one unit and rent out the other three, and you would likely be a shorter term landlord in that case. I was a landlord for 5.5 years, too long, until I moved on to a better and higher use, which is learning to be the best investor that I can be. So I'll give you some of my best stuff there. You know, if you have a child or you know another young person in your life, that could be a really valuable episode there, learning about how to start investing with a bang by buying a fourplex, living in one unit, renting out the other three, which is just how I started. Hey, so for today, remember to put the term millionaire in perspective. In the past, the word millionaire was celebrated in song and literature and movie plots and motivational seminars. In the past, acquiring millionaire status was a sign of financial independence. Today, not so much. I encourage you to be who you are becoming and to become more than a millionaire. You don't want to be a millionaire. Instead, you want to be wealthy in order to ultimately live a fulfilling life. Now go out there and don't quit your daydream.
You've been listening to the Get Rich Education podcast, telling you what the wealthy won't tell you about real estate and investing. If you enjoyed the show, please take a minute to visit iTunes and leave your comments.
Nothing on this show should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Get Rich Education, LLC exclusively.